Today's presentation, everything starts and stops with motivation, and the rally cry or mantra for NHS performance, it's in our DNA. And in this new normal, we all are disregarding negative attitudes because it does not apply. We're driving new attitudes. We are denying negativity always, because at the end of the day, DNA, dollars are nice always. And as we increase our occupancy rates and our demand, the mantra of performance, it's in our DNA, is huge. So thanks to everyone, the general managers, the hospitality, the front desk staff, leadership, regional leadership, for really suiting up and showing up and doing an unbelievable job. So I want to pose the question to you, Team NHS. What is the single largest contributor to NHS's winning team culture? What do you think? The number one answer: team members. Everyone at every NHS property that are demonstrating, suiting up with excellence each and every day for their internal team members and their external team members. Because culture connects strategy with execution. But what are some of the challenges that we're experiencing? It's a high performance culture and environment right now. We're being asked to do more with less, continually to make the numbers. Fast paced, Mach 5 with your hair on fire each and every day. Managing the peaks and valleys during the COVID-19 pandemic. Schedule changes. A lot of the GMs, directors of sales, your team members are working 6 hours, 6 days a week. Dealing with stress and burnout. Time management, long hours. Doing more with less, wearing multiple hats. Very, very high expectations from guests regarding cleanliness, safety, and security standards. Remember, team, it's okay to ask for help. And how do we keep our team members motivated? And then ultimately balancing work and home. So I'd like to take you to the Vatican in 2005 for the inauguration of Pope Benedict. Take a look at that picture if you would. Fast forward 8 years, same spot, the inauguration of Pope Francis. Fast forward 7 years, 2020, to the Vatican, Pope Francis's special Urbe et Orbe blessing. No one there. There's always been time to change. And I submit to you and invite you to consider that there's no better time to change than right now. When we were birthed, came out of the womb with a finite amount of time, 24 hours. 1% of that day is 1,440 minutes. 1% of your day is approximately 14 minutes and 24 seconds. My challenge to you right now, doing more with less, and all those challenges that you're dealing with when you suit up and show up as an NHS team member, is just give me, but more importantly, give yourself 1% more time, energy, and positive attitude to embrace change and new motivation and team building ideas and strategies like we're talking about here today. Positivity is contagious. I'd like to introduce you now to a very, very amazing and cool individual, Dr. Masaru Emoto. And Dr. Emoto was fascinated with motivation and positive outcomes in life, in work, in society, amongst families, amongst coworkers and teams. He's a PhD professor at the University of Tokyo, and he wrote a book called The Hidden Messages in Water. And what Dr. Emoto did in his lab at the University of Tokyo in Japan, he had 2 freeze rooms at 0 degrees. And one would be a positive freeze room where he would have some of the greatest orators of all time, Malcolm X, Dr. King, piped in, children laughing, Buddhist monks chanting, beautiful music from Bach, Mozart, and Beethoven, and he'd freeze one drop of water in that positive freeze room and place it under a microscope. Conversely, in the negative freeze room, he'd have traffic jams, horns, people screaming, some of the worst despots ever, Hitler, Mussolini, some of their speeches piped in, and he'd also freeze one drop of water there. Here is a slide of a drop of water in the positive freeze room to positive intentions, good fortune. Conversely, here's a negative, caustic emotions, you make me sick. Positive freeze room, to Imagine by John Lennon. Not to offend any heavy metal fans, here's a drop of water in the negative freeze room to heavy metal music. Positive freeze room, love and appreciation. To a negative freeze room, a speech by Adolf Hitler. A Mozart symphony, recording of traffic jams. The Fujiwara Dam in Japan before a prayer, the Fujiwara Dam after a prayer. So if positive thoughts, actions, intentions can be articulated here in Dr. Emoto's work, and also conversely how negativity can be presented, what can it do for us, our team members, our internal customers, and our guests? Because when we think of COVID, I'd like you to reframe your definition of COVID. Creating opportunities vital to increase demand. Compelling optimism versus insidious desperation. 99%. Is there a huge difference between 99 and 100%? Did Brady and Belichick put together multiple Super Bowl wins and rings by just doing 99%, getting to that 1 yard line? Chris, thank you. Chris Johnson says, absolutely. There's a huge difference between 99 and 100%. Let me ask you this. How many of you want your pilot, surgeon, lawyer, accountant to be right 99% of the time? Your guests in today's COVID world would not stand for a room that's only 99% clean and sanitized. There's a huge difference between 99 and 100%. Every year, the US government, through their statistical abstract, publishes these facts and figures that I'm going to share with you now. If 99% were good enough, 12 newborns would be given to the wrong parents daily. 2 planes landing at any international airport, primary, secondary, tertiary airport, would be unsafe each and every day. 315 entries in Webster's dictionary would be misspelled. Over 20,000 incorrect drug prescriptions would be written this year. 291 pacemaker operations would be performed incorrectly. 100%. That's what we are asked by this pandemic, by our internal team members, and by our external paying guests. When you see 7-Eleven, what does that conjure up in your mind's eye? Not the convenience store, but in a customer service, guest experience, customer success perspective, in the first 7 seconds, the guest forms 11 impressions about you, your property, and the type of relationship that you are presenting. 7-Eleven, first 7 seconds, 11 impressions. And I would submit to you and invite you to consider that in this COVID world, it's probably less than 7 seconds and more than 11 impressions, because you don't get a second chance to make a positive first impression. When you see 510, what does that conjure up in your mind's eye? For some, if you're like me from Chicago originally and we're a Chicago Bears fan, around November, the playoff time, it's the Bears record, 5 wins and 10 losses. Also in Chicago, with all their financial challenges, it's the price of a gallon of gas. Or it could be May of 2010. For me, May of 2010 was the worst month of my life. 3 things happened that changed the trajectory of my focus at a mental, emotional, physical, and cellular level. My dad fell out of a 3rd floor window to his death. I had a raging opioid and alcohol problem. And then May 18th, 2010, Hoffman Estates, Illinois, St. Alexis Medical Center, Doctors Building 2, 5th floor at 1:45 p.m. at Dr. Jeffrey Bacall's office. I was told, Doug, you've got cancer. My reaction to the big C word was the big D word of denial. That happens to someone else. You see, my focus at that point, I was on that hedonistic treadmill. I was addicted to more houses, homes, watches. And when I was given that death sentence of cancer on May 18th, 2010, I recognized the only way out is through, and I recognized being on that hedonistic treadmill, I was chasing and running after the wrong things. I got through. It was suggested that I get involved in a cancer survivors group where I made some of the most meaningful relationships outside of my family. Not everyone survived. I fortunately did. We had doctors, oncologists, social workers, PhD therapists, psychiatrists that were affixed to this cancer survivors group that did research. And they found these items that presented or prevented a second occurrence of cancer. You had to be lucky. There's a lot of uncertainty. You had to roll the dice if you could on some aggressive and complementary therapy. You get outside of that yourself. You see, I was an eye doctor, not literally, but figuratively. It was about I, me. It's so not about me now. It's about we. Reduce my level of stress, exercise my body, my heart, and my mind, live a more healthy lifestyle, watch my diet, what I put into my mouth, my head, my heart, my emotions. But 60% of the time, in addition to all these other very important items, a positive attitude presented a recurrence of cancer. If it can do it for me and for those survivors, what can it do for you and your business with your guests? A positive attitude in these very negative times. Some motivational principles. We can't really motivate individuals. All we can do is create a motivational environment in which they can motivate themselves. And I'd like to share with you now the only motivational question you'll ever have to ask yourself or share with your team members. What would you do if you had only 90 days to achieve your goal, or you would lose that which you cared about most forever? And I want to pose the question to you, Team NHS. How many trees do you see? This is one of the largest living organisms on the planet. A beautiful grove of aspens, all interconnected, one root system. Should an insect bore into one of these beautiful trees with a disease, it'll take down all of those beautiful trees in that beautiful grove of aspens. The same is true of us, Team NHS. We're all interconnected, regardless of our position, regardless of our location, committed to excellence. People with a positive attitude laugh more, have richer, more fulfilling lives and connections with their family, their friends, their coworkers, and their guests. But there's 10 things that require zero talent to suit up and show up and be effective in this pandemic. 1, being on time. 2, a strong work ethic, effort, body language, positive energy, positive attitude, positive passion, being coachable, doing extra, and being prepared. And as we close, I'd like to leave you with the top 5 instructions for a well-lived life. Number one, take into account that great love and great achievements sometimes involve great risk. Number two, remember that not getting what you want is sometimes a wonderful stroke of luck. Three, learn the rules so you know how to break them properly. Four, when you realize you've made a mistake, take the necessary steps to correct it. Number five, my favorite, live a good, honorable life. Then when you get older and think back, you'll be able to enjoy it a second time.